Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies. Oh god, that was terrible. I apologize for that. That was, what was that? I was like, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies. The only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again to talk about whatever happened to Baby Jane. I finally watched this movie. If you guys don't know, well, obviously you don't, because you can't read minds. You don't know any trivial bullshit like this. When I was a kid, this was gonna be my first Bette Davis movie. I rented it from Netflix, where they used to send you DVDs in the mail. I rented this movie, and for some reason, I was just never compelled to watch it, and so I just let the time run out, and then I sent it back. So I never watched this movie, and then I watched Whales of August years later, and so that was my first Bette Davis movie. And I'm kind of glad, honestly, because this movie would not... it's not a good movie to start on with Bette Davis if you're focusing on her. Obviously, because this is very... she's using a lot of her... What I really like about her is that she builds on her career. Like, she started off as this very simple character actress where she plays this sister who... She has this drama with her evil sister. And so, The Bad Sister, her first movie, she kind of played the Blanche character in a way, and now she's come full circle where she's playing the mean evil sister, if you could say that, because in The Bad Sister she really wasn't that bad, she really wasn't that evil, but she was pretty much like this character, just younger. And for starters, I have never seen a movie with Joan Crawford. I've heard all about her and how controversial she was and how she might have been abusive. I don't know. I couldn't care less because that's all in the past. You can't go back and change the past and make people not abusive even though they're dead. You can't go back in time. So I don't really care. I just care about her acting and what's on screen. That's a big problem with people nowadays, is that they can't just look at what people do on screen. I mean, I could even admit, I'm not going to watch anything Amber Heard does, because she needs to be punished. She needs to be sent to prison for what she allegedly did to Johnny Depp, and she needs to be held accountable. So someone who's actively doing bad stuff, allegedly, I'm not going to support them. But if you're talking about someone like Joan Crawford, she did bad stuff years ago, allegedly, and she's dead, so who cares? I mean, maybe her ghost cares. I apologize to her ghost. I don't really care, though, because I critique, this is what I do. And I'm here to critique this movie, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. First off, I really loved the opening, where you see both of them as a kid, these two sisters, and you see this dynamic they had, and the mom tells Blanche, one day people are going to all be paying attention to you, and you're going to have to take care of your sister. Oh fuck, I just forgot her name. How could I just forget her name? Bette Davis' character. Oh, shit. Oh, wait, no, it's Jane, obviously, because that's in the title of the movie. You guys see what happens with me sometimes? I'm just, like, my brain is, like jumping around in my head like a fucking bouncy ball or something, confusing me, I guess. But I thought that opening scene was really, really good, and it was so simple. And they had this little montage of events leading up to the main story, And I really loved how perfect and simple they were, but at the same time they told you a lot without being too over the top, being too in your face. I have a scene in my script where I had to have all this exposition added in because people complained that it was confusing near the end, and I kind of made it a very in your face thing just because I thought, like, this is the only way it could fit. But I mean, this sequence right here, it really showed me how to do exposition in a smarter way. I mean, this was such a smart sequence of events that led up to the main movie, and it was really enjoyable and simple, and it was great. It was just really good. And then we get to the main story, which is you have Blanche, the younger sister. She ended up getting more popular as an actress than Jane, and she starred in a lot of movies until she got in a car crash. And then Jane, she was supposed to be a big star, but she kind of failed, and the studios kind of screwed her over. And so now it's her taking care of her sister who's crippled from the accident in this house, and that is the movie. And I gotta say, I liked it quite a bit. I really, really liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm so glad I finally watched it. It's one of those movies where I think if you see it available to watch somewhere, then you should go ahead and watch it. Don't wait and say, oh, I'm going to watch it sometime. Just go ahead and watch it because it's really, really good. I would watch it again if I was somewhere like in a hotel where I flipped on a TV and looked through the channels and I saw this movie playing. I'd keep it on this movie. It's a very enjoyable movie. There are a couple of flaws, though, just in terms of the structure and stuff like that, especially with the second half. But overall, I really loved this movie. I thought that it was a great movie. It was it returned back to Bette Davis doing what she does best. I really liked, or I kind of liked, Storm Center, but it really didn't feel like a Bette Davis movie. It felt like the part was kind of wrong for her, especially since, spoilers for that movie, she doesn't make the transition into becoming a Bette Davis type of character until the very end. And I felt like she was fine in it, and I enjoyed that movie mildly, but it probably would have suited another actress better. An actress who's a lot sweeter, a lot nicer. Like, I would say Audrey Hepburn would have been good. Someone like that who would be a lot more believable as a kind librarian. In fact, okay, I won't get into that because I'd be talking about Storm Center for an hour, because I really could. I mean, it's a very mismanaged movie. The way that they put that together, it just kind of feels like they made it as a statement rather than a movie. But it was still good. This movie, however, Bette Davis is back doing what she does best in the 60s. So that movie, the Storm Center, that represented the 50s. This represents the 60s. And it didn't really feel like a 60s movie, which I was glad about that, because sometimes 60s movies can be a little too goofy, a little too light, and kind of really light, like the Batman show, stuff like that. Ugh. But this was pretty dark. But that leads to the part where it kind of failed for me in a way, because you're supposed to be in horror in this movie. You're supposed to be terrified. I really don't think that the director did a good job of making this a true horror story. I really think that he didn't know how to do that. He kind of just filmed the events from the script as they were, and he didn't really make the horror movie that this could have been. And I heard that Alfred Hitchcock was supposed to direct this, and he didn't because he was busy being a boss, being a fucking Hollywood boss. And I think that's unfortunate because at the very least, I think that it would have been good for him to have done like a Poltergeist type of situation where the other guy, quote unquote, directed it, but then Hitchcock really did direct it behind the scenes. I think that that would have been a lot better. You know, this movie had the potential to be a really terrifying movie. And it still was pretty scary at certain points. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't scary. But I had a very hard time not being thoroughly amused in a comedic sense. And that's the nicest way to put it. You know, if I was actually reviewing this in front of the actresses in this movie, I had a very hard time not laughing at what was going on. I mean, it was just so funny. Like, you have Joan Crawford, and she is a cutie patootie pie. I mean, for all the bad things she allegedly did, supposedly, I don't know, and for how she was like a meanie, you know, she was a cutie patootie pie. I mean, if Bette Davis is cookie dough ice cream, Joan Crawford was dark raspberry chocolate chip. You know, she was that hardened, you know, kind of playful but bittersweet, you know, kind of flavor. And Bette Davis was like, you know, she was a doughy actress with some hard bits in her that, great flavors, the two of them. And so really this movie, it was so funny to me because the premise is great. I mean, I just love the premise of, like, whatever happened to that obscure person, you know, just thinking about all the people in history, thinking about, like, if you guys saw the movie Benedetta, there was this, the secondary girl in that movie. At the end of the movie, you never really find out what happens with her, and she was a real-life person, so, you know, whatever happened to her? You know, like, whatever happened to all these people who just kind of disappear into obscurity? Whatever happened to Valiant Thor? You know, whoever that guy was. Whatever happened to the Zodiac Killer? You know, whatever happened to these people who just, like, pop up and then they disappear? I thought that was such a fantastic concept for a movie. Like, I really love that concept. And, but it's just so funny. You have, like, this this woman in her, whatever, 60s, and she's fucking, she's still dressed like as the same clothes she was in as a kid, and she's got, like, the same hair, and she's got, like, layers and layers of makeup on, and it's really funny. Like, I've seen that before too. Like, I saw it in school. I had this, well, he used to be a friend, and at one point my mom would always say, like, why is he dressed like he's still in grade school? Because he no matter, in high school, he was still wearing the same clothes and the same hairstyles in grade school. And he still does, too. He wears the same shit. He wears, like, these long khaki pants and these, like, Yu-Gi-Oh shirts. And it's just hilarious to look at because it's, like, it's just so funny. And then you have Joan Crawford, and she's this cutie patootie pie with these, like, sharp eyebrows and sharp eyes. And she just sits in her room, like, going, beep, 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 beep. And then Bette Davis is like, ah! It's just so funny. I mean, I just could not stop laughing whenever they entered a room with each other and they're talking to each other and they're going back and forth and, it's real because they really didn't like each other. It was so funny. I mean, you had Joan Crawford and she's like, "Oh, Jane, won't you get me my dinner? And I'm really hungry, Jane. I'm very hungry. I need some dinner." "You already had your dinner. You have to wait for breakfast. You will have to wait in your room." And then she just walks out like a witch taking away the trays. There's all these dinner trays in the movie. It's so funny. I mean, this would be the greatest drunk commentary movie of all time. I mean, let me tell you, I loved it. I've so enjoyed, because that was really the magic of this movie, was seeing these two actresses interact, seeing them go back and forth with each other. It was so hilarious. It would be basically like Chris Rock and Will Smith starring in a movie together where, that's the modern equivalent. And of course that would be trash. I mean, I wouldn't watch that, but, that's the equivalent of what this movie is. But then in the second half, that's where things kind of fall apart a little bit for me, because in the second half, you really don't get as much interaction between them, because it's really a lot more about Blanche trying to contact outside forces, outside people to help her, and it's really about Bette Davis deceiving them. And so they really don't have as many scenes. And then, of course, she gets knocked out and she gets heavily drugged by her evil sister. And so you really don't get as much interaction between them that you'd like. In fact, a lot of the second half centers around this piano playing guy. And I actually really liked him. It was surprising that he was in this movie for as much as he was. I didn't know anything about that guy, or the fact that he would be in this movie. He was pretty cool. He was pretty good. I thought that he did a great job. And the fact that, you have this guy, I never heard of him before. But the fact that he stood up against Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. He stood up next to them and he managed to do a performance that was almost just as good as theirs. And so I thought that was very impressive that he was able to do that. However, a lot of the second half is about him, because really he's outside of the house. He can help. And so that's why they really took the focus off. But it was kind of weaker to me, because I really just wanted to see more of Bette Davis versus Joan Crawford. That's what this movie was. It did such a great job in those moments. I mean, there's so many funny moments, like the parts where Joan Crawford opens up her dinner tray, and it's like a big rat on top of like a bunch of tomato slices, and she's like, ah! That was the funniest thing ever. Like, it's supposed to be terrifying. It's supposed to be absolutely horrific, and I was just sitting there laughing at just seeing this, it was so funny. And then of course you had the scene where where Jane was singing. She was trying to sing the same song she did as a little girl, while the guy played the piano, and that was hilarious. And the piano guy, he was even having trouble not laughing because it was that funny. And the movie really comes to a climax at the end when they basically have to run away. And Jane kills the Maid, and I thought the Maid was actually a pretty good character too. I liked her. I thought that she was a good addition to the movie, and it was sad to see her get killed because she got fucked up. She just got hammered in the back of the head by this witch Jane Hudson, and she takes her sister to the beach. And I like that because, see, that in the second half, it's really funny because Joan Crawford, she stops talking at certain points. She has these long sequences where all she does is stare. And I thought, it's kind of funny how she really had the Bette Davis stare moments in this movie. Like, for some reason, they gave those to her. And she has all these moments where she's like waiting to see if something will go through. She's waiting to see if a plan will work. She's on the phone at one point and she's kind of looking around and she's doing some acting with her face. And I kind of felt bad for Bette Davis because once again, she really wasn't given a Bette Davis stare moment. And I think that in any Bette Davis film, the key is to have a moment where she gets to stare and where she gets to just look and act with her face, her beautiful face. You know, I didn't think she was that bad looking in this movie, honestly. Like, I thought she was still very pretty, and I thought that it was actually a big step up from Storm Center. So that's pretty funny in itself. But she was really good. I loved the dynamic between them, and I loved seeing them both act their asses off for each other, and because they had this rivalry. But in the final scene, I loved that because we finally get to see them interact one last time. And there's actually a very sad moment where she was like, "You mean we could have been friends all this time?" I thought that was like a very, very good line. Like, see, Bette Davis, she's just so good. She can, like, change an entire movie, being good or bad, just with one line. You know, that's how good she is. I wish I could have cast her in a movie. God, what a shame. You know, nowadays, though, you know what they'll do? They'll computer generate her and make whatever happened to whatever happened to Baby Jane 2, the transgender version. You know, they'll do that nowadays. And then they'll still have Bette Davis in computer form, like as a cameo or something. I can guarantee they'll do that. Guarantee. I was kind of confused by the ending, though. The way that Jane, she gets 2 strawberry ice creams, which I gotta be honest, like, I'd like some strawberry ice cream too. Like, he listed off the flavors. He said chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, something else, and she's like, "Strawberry!" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd like some strawberry too." That sounded pretty good. It would have been really funny if he had said cookie dough, which is her. She is cookie dough. But she takes the ice cream and then she's like dancing around while people pay attention to her, and then the police attend to her sister. And I was kind of confused by that, like, just kind of confused of like, okay, like, what's going on? Like, is she just so insane that she's just, you know, being insane, and she's just, I don't know, it was kind of weird. Or was she celebrating that she finally knew the truth about the crash and everything? Like, I didn't really get the ending, and I didn't get, like, okay, what's going to happen next, you know? Are they going to be separated? What's going to happen? I was kind of hoping that they would do a little caption. Like, maybe they'd have a little caption that said, "The police saved Blanche, and then Jane disappeared and she never came back," or, you know, maybe Blanche retired to a home with someone, and then Jane was taken to an asylum forever. You know, they didn't have anything, though. It was just this, I still like the scene, though. You know, I still like the movie, but I was kind of, like, iffy on the ending. You know, maybe the book explains better what happens. Maybe the book has something at the end. But overall, I like the movie. You know, this was exactly what I wanted to watch, this type of great old movie where they used to, you know, they really knew how to make movies. They knew how to cast people well. You know, nowadays, every actor is like Jane Hudson. Every actor around is like her. It used to be where all the actors were like Blanche, for the most part. And then if you had a Jane Hudson, people knew. And they disapproved, and they didn't like that type of person. And they would get less work, and they get screwed up, and you know, they would get punished for not being professional people. You know, you saw at the very beginning where little baby Jane, she was like, I want an ice cream! I want an ice cream! And people all over the place, they're like, ugh, gross, like, ugh, what terrible parents, you know, terrible, terrible parents. It's too bad that she's been raised to be a modern day type of actress. But nowadays, you know, every actor is like Jane. You know, they're all like that. That's what they're all like nowadays. And people have just kind of accepted it. And in fact, they've kind of made it into like a stereotype where everyone in Hollywood, they're all a bunch of losers. They're all idiots. They're all like this. You know, they've kind of made it to where they accept it instead of criticizing it, and instead of like standing up for, you know, what's right, and, you know, standing up for the past when actors were a lot more professional. Because studios, I'm telling you guys, studios gave up control of these actors, and as soon as they did that, they sabotaged Hollywood. You know, they destroyed their own business for the sake of these privileged, egotistical, bratty actors to feel better about their stupid business. You know, they're stupid, like the fact that nowadays with superhero movies, you know, they can never wear their masks or helmets because they have in their contracts that, you know, oh, we have to see the actors' faces because my brand, you know, stuff like that. You'd never have that back then. If an actor did that, they'd be fired. So I really think that this movie is important for nowadays, even more so than the Storm Center, because it shows you how actors, they've all gotten like Baby Jane, and how they really need to be put in their place again. Actors need to be put in their place. And you've heard that from me right here. I mean, nowadays we never would have had a Bette Davis or a Joan Crawford because studios never would have been able to shape them and mold them and put them where they need to be put to make them into the stars that they were. I mean, just think about how, I mean, Bette Davis, she had such a great career. The fact that every movie has been a hit. The fact that every movie, you know, I pretty much liked. And I pretty much really liked her. You know, it just shows that, you know, the actors now, they pale in comparison to the ones from yesterday. What they say in this movie, they say, yesterday is like a time capsule. In terms of a rating, I gotta be honest, I've spoiled it already. This movie is a giant bowl of cookie dough ice cream and dark raspberry chocolate chip ice cream together, and you have both of them at the same time. Let's say like they're your two favorite flavors, and you have them at the same time, and they're really, really good, and you just love being able to have your two favorite ice cream flavors in a big, huge bowl with no end in sight, and you don't even have to worry about the calories. that's this movie. But the thing is that whenever you eat a lot of ice cream, near the end, you do feel guilty regardless. And the ice cream coats your teeth, and so you're like, ugh, I want to wash this out, I want to get rid of this aftertaste, all this ice cream coating my mouth. So I would say that that's what this movie was. It was definitely a very, 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 very good movie. And I was so glad, too, because there's been so many movies where they're very popular, and then I'll watch them, and I'll feel bad because I don't like them as much as other people. Like, I really hate Pulp Fiction, and so I feel, whenever I have to talk about that movie, it's kind of like, ugh. Now I have to talk about why I don't like Pulp Fiction. But I was glad that with this movie, instead of that, it was me being able to talk about why I liked this movie. It was very good. I liked it a lot. I would recommend it. I don't think it's the best of the movies. I do think that Hell's House was better, because that movie gave you more of what you wanted. This movie, as I said, in the second half, you got less of that interaction. You got less of the back and forth talking. Joan Crawford was almost silent the second half of the movie. Like, it was almost like she was a silent actress in the second half. So anyways, please like, subscribe, comment. What do you think about whatever happened to Baby Jane? And then, goodbye everybody. See you soon.